We were watching Letterkenny last night, and they had set up a sled hut, and they're all three of them just sitting close quarters there. And
This was in Texas.
Texas.
I still remember this thing. Tejas.
Tegziz.
I like Greek gods.
It seems like it's like pretty popular though. There's like I checked the like Steam reviews and
Greek
there's like
gods are cool.
there's like 40,000 Steam reviews
Yeah.
for it.
I'm like, I don't care.
How about you go kill some bitches, my man? All right, guys. Guess what I'm eating.
do we get any hints, or do we just have? Is it carrots?
We just get
Noah, you
mouth-
gotta let me start first, and then you actually have questions.
No. Sorry. Is
Okay,
it
I will now take the
carrots?
first round of guesses. It is not carrots.
Is it some kind of nut?
Well, slightly nutty in taste. It is more. It's a snack. It's definitely a snack.
Okay, cool.
Is it pretzels?
Very similar. You're on a similar track.
Uh,
There are actually pretzel variants of it.
Is it the peanut butter Ritz cracker?
No, it's not the peanut butter cracker.
Well, I'm
that was so specific.
sorry.
Pretzel variants, huh?
The default is not pretzel. The default is chocolate covered.
Oh,
Huh.
These are not though.
I was about to ask about Pop-Tarts, and then I realized, firstly, the default isn't chocolate. Secondly, it doesn't sound like a
No,
Pop-Tart.
it doesn't crunch in such a way.
Yeah. Huh.
Unless it's Pop-Tart cereal, which I believe does crunch.
It's still not chocolate covered.
It is not Pop-Tart cereal, nor is it chocolate covered.
Slightly nutty in taste. Chocolate covered. Crunch.
And there's a pretzel variant. That's what's throwing me for a... Well, no, all of it's throwing me for a loop.
I fold. I have no idea.
I think I have to back down as well.
Okay, these are green tea flavored Pocky.
Oh, it's Pocky.
Oh.
Oh, those are all good hints.
Yeah.
Thank you.
This is like Emma trying to make us guess which horror movie we're going to be talking about on the other podcast.
It's scary. All right, well, you got me there. That's none of them. Thank you, everybody. So when am I coming on the other podcast to talk about Spider-Man 2?
Wait, say again?
Spider-Man 2 is a horror movie?
Yeah.
Huh.
Like we're gonna do the double trilogy analysis of the Spider-Man trilogy and the Evil Dead trilogy.
Oh, that's right. I remember we were going to do that and double down on
the Sam
comparisons
Raimi
between movies.
We gotta wait until we do our double feature week, because I feel like that'd be a good part of it.
You have to watch 6 movies, yeah.
Yeah. A double franchise feature.
A double trilogy. That's asking a lot.
Oh, come on. It's
You
not
got
like
yours?
it's the Lord of the Rings here. We can make time. Actually,
I get it. Because those are long movies.
mhm. So I keep getting reminded of this, but I want to ask you guys how you feel.
Okay.
Okay.
I really don't like Lord of the Rings fans,
Agreed.
and I want to get past that because, like, I was a Lord of the Rings fan. I like Lord of the Rings as a concept. I think it is a very enjoyable fantasy thing. However, it's 3.5 books and then a giant appendix, 2 appendices. I don't know. What would you call the unfinished tales?
I
of the
actually had mine
Silmarillion?
removed after it. I got an appendicitis.
Why would you do this to me? But yeah, like it's all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I like them. Like I like the movies. I think they did a pretty good job. I like the books. I think they're really fun. The Hobbit's fine. I think the Hobbit movies sucked, and I think everyone
Yes.
else acknowledges that too.
Yes.
But like, I don't understand how. I guess it's kind of like Harry Potter, right? I don't get how people make their lives about Lord of the Rings, much like I don't get how people make their lives about Harry Potter.
See, my take is I don't like when people make their lives about any single like pop culture franchise or any single like general thing in like, overall.
Agreed. Because like sports fans super annoy me. Like I already don't. I'm fine to an extent with like Lord of the Rings fans, because a lot of Lord of the Rings fans do have an overlap with other like fantasy stuff. So they'll like D&D, as long as they don't make every D&D character a thinly veiled like
Aragorn.
Lord of the Rings character.
I'm playing a ranger. He actually, and I have the noble background, but he doesn't want to do anything with that actually. But I'm from a special group of rangers, and I have a sword and I have a bow, and I'm really cool.
And I don't
I'm
like
mysterious.
people all that much, but I'll also like super loyal. It's like, okay.
Wow, he's literally me.
I'm an elf and I'm an archer and I'm super hot and I don't
That's
like
literally
dwarves.
You're describing me. Okay, you've just fully described me. No.
But yeah, like as long as you're like still being creative, I think that Lord of the Rings fosters a spirit of creativity in the fact that Tolkien like could not stop expanding on that world, and it also kind of birthed an entire like genre of modern fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Lord of the Rings fans are like maybe the least annoying, but they're still there.
I wouldn't call them the least annoying by a long shot. I think that they're incredibly frustrating.
But like in my head, all I have to compare them with is Trekkies and Potterheads. So like,
I was about to try and
true.
throw up the old, oh, you trying to be mean to the Trekkies? And then I was just like, no, yeah, that's valid.
I
that's
work
valid.
with Trekkies every day, man. I'm sick of them.
No,
I
Trekkies
I'm
are
trying to be
about
mean
it.
to the Trekkies.
Damn.
That's the thing about working at a since I've last been on the podcast, I've started to work at a media store where they sell movies
Media?
and video games specifically are two really big ones. Yes, media. But because of that, I have to deal with, it's good that you brought fandoms up because I have to deal with all of them. And it's kind of super frustrating.
Remember that guy at Walmart
Oh my God,
yesterday
that
who
guy at
tried to
Walmart.
gatekeep your Boba Fett shirt?
Oh my God, I'd been wearing a Boba Fett shirt all day long at work. And like, I do get gatekept a little bit at work. It's worse with the like superhero t-shirts. But like, I wore a Boba Fett shirt all day. No one even asked me if I'd watched The Mandalorian. Good, we're doing good. Then we go to Walmart. We're walking down like the canned bean aisle or something.
Oh, hell yeah, the bean aisle.
Mhm.
I live there.
And this guy's just like, which is better, Boba or Django? I was like, I like Boba more, because I do. And he's like, well,
Yeah,
Django.
I mean, I love the tapioca.
Mhm.
Exactly. It's delicious. I like brown sugar boba. It's my favorite.
A classic flavor.
Delicious. But yeah, no, this guy's like, oh, well, did you know Django did this thing and that thing in the extended canon?
He killed a Dark Force user in Star Wars Bounty Hunter, the video game.
I'm like, I don't care.
How about you go kill some bitches, my man? I love responding like to any like all the responses where people be like, I don't know. I just love when they're like, why don't you go worry about, I don't know, doing whatever to some bitches or to some hoes or whatever. And obviously, you know, I am a not one to refer to women as objects or any such thing.
Right.
But in the context of the joke itself, of like dismissing someone's weird semantic argument about a niche topic and just to be like, please go have sex. It's just so funny.
He then
It's so
tried,
good.
like, we walked away and we freaking, like, picked up a freaking can of tomatoes, a can of beans, and then he's like, you know, Boba Fett once took an impossible bounty for only 100 credits. And I'm just like, why? And he's like, for the reputation. And I'm like, all right. It's just like,
all right.
why?
It's
Why-
I'll
like-
give you 100 credits to shut the fuck up.
All in all, like
I know it's an impossible bounty though.
oh.
Okay.
All in all, I don't mind it that much, but it is something like, I mean, I talked about this the very first time I was on the podcast. I don't really mind gatekeepers all that much because I've had to live with them my whole life. But I would appreciate if it would happen in a position where I've basically set myself up to get gatekept, such as at work and not in the bean aisle.
Not the bean aisle.
Not the bean aisle.
My most vulnerable space. You would come in here and attack me about my Star Wars?
In my house.
The Walmart
The
bean
Walmart
aisle.
bean aisle.
I just, like, I don't know. I've never been gatekept. And I mean, I'm a white guy with a beard who's slightly overweight, like no one would challenge my authority on a subject.
That's true. That's true.
Like if they see me with a Pokemon shirt, no one's gonna be like, that guy doesn't like Pokemon. They'll be like, yeah, that's up. So like they'll be like, well, he's got a Naruto shirt on. This guy probably doesn't. They'll be like, no, yeah, he probably does.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's all there.
That's.
I also don't
funny.
really. I have like 5 shirts, and they're all just like,
Mountain goats.
well, like half of them are mountain goats, the other half are like just like pastel, like one color like
Mhm.
shirts.
That's the way to do it.
I like my nerd shirts, because they match basically any flannel that I have.
It's true.
And-
It is. That's a deadly combo. That's like the Nina #1, like the like the Marvel shirt flannel.
Yeah.
That's the fit.
Why are you calling me out like this?
I said it's the fit.
It's because
Thank
much like
you.
me, you're a cartoon character with
have a
one
pass.
outfit.
Yeah, Noah's red shirt and like a
Exactly.
black overshirt.
I get a pass.
Black button.
People give me passes for the flannel thing here because I'm from Seattle, and I appreciate that.
Wait, would
As
they
if no
otherwise
one
not
in
tell you not
Erie
to wear
wears
flannels?
flannels.
Yeah, they're like they people have made comments about like, oh, why are you wearing a flannel? Like old men at work
Wait, what?
usually, and I'll be like, yeah, and my boss will literally like fly in out of nowhere and be like, well, she's from Seattle, so, and the guy will be like, oh yeah, never mind, that makes sense. I'm like, what?
Oh yes, the land of the flannels.
I'm like, cool. Okay.
After Kurt Cobain parted the fucking Cascades, he brought flannels to the people of Seattle.
Exactly. He came down from the heavens, I mean the mountains, and imparted upon the people flannels and distressed jeans.
So speaking of the mountain, let's talk about another 2.5 hour release put out by the Mountain Goats yesterday. Thoughts?
They put out another
guys
thing
listen to it yet?
yesterday.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I'm barely keeping up with artists that I listen to on a regular basis
You
because
fools.
Yeah, I listened to Michael Myers' Resplendent.
Okay.
But I did not listen to a new album yet. No.
It's not even a new album. It's 2 live session volumes, and it's only 2.5 hours.
Oh, is that all?
I actually haven't even finished it. Like I listened to like half of it.
Yeah, I can.
But it's
squeak that in
basically
real
just like a
quick.
concert. It's just like
That's
a concert.
cool.
It's like a
Nice.
yeah. It's a pretty neat idea.
I'll listen to it eventually. Right now I'm getting into power
Knives?
metal.
Okay.
Yeah, cuz a big part of it is that one of my coworkers only listens to dad music, and he put in Dio the other day, and I was like, you know, I'll fuck with Dio for sure. Absolutely. And then I started looking into more stuff like that. And then I told Noah, I'm like, Noah, I'm finally getting into metal. Finally. Aren't you proud of me? And I told
And
him
then he was like, actually.
and he's like, oh yeah, what do you like? And I'm like, oh, I really like stuff with like a melody. I like things with like folk influences and like medieval like lutes and shit, like Camelot and Falconer and shit. And he's like, oh yeah, you know what you should listen to?
In fairness, before we drag me too hard, I actually don't remember why I mentioned this band.
We're talking about Powerwolf.
Oh, that's right.
And then we started talking about how and Sabaton and how like metal people perform. And then you brought up the fact that the lead singer of Portal,
The Curator.
the curator, wore a clock on his head for a period of time.
There it is. He did wear a big clock.
And-
Of course it was for a period of time. That's what clocks are for, silly.
Hey.
How dare you?
So he put it up on he brought up a music video for their song Gloomerfunnel.
My
And
favorite song.
It's Glomer Funnel.
Gloomerfunnel. It's just noise.
Oh, even
it's
better.
it's just straight noise. There's nothing going on other than like some clickety clacketing drums and some really like erratic guitar shit. So I still couldn't tell you anything about that song.
I mean, it's not the album that it's from, it's so overly compressed to death that it actually sounds worse than the live version. I gotta be
Incredible.
honest. But yeah, they're an extreme metal band from Australia. Officially, no one knows any of the band members' names or anything like that. They have enough traction that they can play like various like pretty big festivals, but for the most part, all we have are their really weird music videos. Where right now, I think because he was wearing the clock and then he wore a giant wizard's hat that covered his whole head. Now he's wearing this weird like funeral veil with a kind of a Rasputin face on the other side of it almost. And you know those like tentacle finger extenders that you can buy at like every store in America? He wears
No.
those.
No, you don't know those, like the dollar store tentacle fingers?
No.
What?
Yeah, they're those little finger puppets that used to exist, little finger monsters. They were like hard plastic or soft rubber.
Yeah, it sounds right.
It's that, but they're tentacles. They're like 2 inches long, 3 inches long.
Yeah. It was a
Alright.
trend for a little while, the same way like the tiny hands on top of your like fingers are.
Man, I hate tiny hands. That's my least favorite thing about TikTok is the tiny hands community.
I've
There's
never
the
encountered
one-
this.
Really? We're in
We
very
live in
di-
different lives, I suppose.
We are all three of us, I think, in very different sections of TikTok.
I have a lot more cooking TikTok than Nina does.
No, I have a lot of gay cosplay TikTok. That's the majority. Mostly gay. Some ADHD.
So half the sounds that you hear are the
No, that's straight cosplay. That's straight cosplay TikTok. Fuck off with that. No.
I don't
I'm
know if
sorry, I
that's
didn't
true.
realize that there was that much of a difference between the
There's-
straight and the gay
There's
cosplays.
a huge difference. Straight cosplayers are out here cosplaying like Alistair from like Has Been Hotel and all that shit. And gay cosplayers are cosplaying their own characters and Adventure Time characters almost exclusively.
That adds up. I feel like the straight ones are way hornier and the gay ones are way cringier.
Yes.
Choose your poison.
Yes, no, exactly. There's obviously a sliding scale of cringe and horny, but that's
And me, I'm
that's a
tight
good
as
general
fuck.
statement. What's your TikTok look like, Jackson?
Naruto clips and communism.
I do get some communism too. I will say that.
Yep. Yeah, no, it's mostly that, and every once in a while, just like dog/cat videos.
Mhm.
I get this
I
one
do not
lady
mind
all the
those.
time who has a cat named Smitty, and she makes him wear hats.
That's so
Oh,
good.
I saw one of those on yours the other night, Nina.
Yeah, I see
Oh.
him all the time. Yeah.
I get this one bird. He's talking bird. I don't remember what his name is, but he's when he gets called out for being where he's not supposed to be, he doesn't know any words other than what he's been taught, so he'll just say his normal phrases but like angry, and it makes me very 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 happy. I think pet TikTok is actually pretty good. I've turned into the old lady who watches cat videos.
I gotta be honest, watching
I-
those bird videos with you has made me 100% sure that I'm never getting a bird.
I already knew I was never getting a bird.
I was pretty darn sure, but
yeah,
those really
I
help cement
would
it.
never really want a bird, but I've been interacting with birds more than normal lately. Yeah.
Mhm.
A parrot in particular.
If I could get my hands on a raven,
Just go outside.
Quoth.
if I could
Just
get
go
my hands
outside
on a
and be
raven.
quick.
Yeah, we do
There you
have one
go.
that lives in our tree, and I used to like have crow buddies when I lived in Washington, but I don't. Not here so much.
Actually, speaking of birds, anyone who's in the Discord will probably know about this, but my parents have what they think is a red-tailed hawk or a sparrowhawk
Like
just
in the house?
hanging out at their house.
And
It walks around in the yard. Yeah, no, outside, but it like struts around. It doesn't really fly much that they've seen. They've just see it strut around the yard and like catch voles and just hang out.
Is he still hanging out?
I don't know. Last I knew he
good
was.
for him.
Good for him. I like hawks. I told my mom, I was on the phone with my mom recently, and I told my mom that she should tell her hawk story to your mom. Because one time a hawk got stuck in my mom's like fence on her garden, and she and my sister had to like hold him still while they unhooked him, and he just had the most befuddled look on his face, like, how the hell did I get here?
What's
are you
happening?
What? I'm sorry. You were
Get him.
talking,
Everybody get him.
and I answered a text I got.
Get him! He's on the phone during D&D. That's one of my pet peeves about D&D. Is
We're
people
not
saying
on
you
D&D.
can't- I know. Whenever you're supposed to be doing something else, but you're like on the phone while you're not like the center of attention, and people get mad at you about it, which I just did. I think that's bullshit.
I mean, I gotta be honest. There's no point in not being on your phone during combat circles in D&D
Yeah.
because sometimes that combat cycle goes on way too long. So it's just like, okay, it's fine for me to be on my phone while I wait 15 minutes for the wizard to remember how his spell works. and then
Call
I
out
move
for
on.
wizards.
I'm just saying, Eldritch Blast exists. Just be a
Be a
warlock.
Jackson, did you read or hear anything from the new
No.
D&D book that came out just recently, Tasha's Cauldron? Apparently, there's some really cool new subclasses, but the only thing that I care about is that they finally fixed the Beastmaster Ranger. That's like
Would you get like a better
the
dog
only
now?
thing that I care about. Actually, you get a magical dog now.
Yeah.
And instead of having to pick a stat block from like existing creatures, you get a standardized stat block based on whether you have a creature of the land,
Okay.
creature of the sea, or creature of the air. So, yeah. So what kind of animal it is now like purely like aesthetic based. And the stats themselves are a little simpler. Oh, and the action economy is absolutely much better. Now you can command them with your bonus action. So everything is fixed. And it was surprisingly easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how to follow that up.
I don't know anything else about the book except that like apparently there were some other cool subclasses, but I don't play anything other than like a ranger and a warlock, so I don't care.
You know, you trying to get mad at me for being on my phone just now just reminds me of every time that I fire up like Terraria to do like fishing while we record, and Dan's just like, "Huh, looks like someone's gonna play video games," and Jackson's like, "Yeah, who's playing video games?"
no,
as he's
I
been
usually,
playing Hades like the
I mean, it's
entire
good. I've
time.
got
Oh,
all the
how's
achievements now.
Hades? Yeah, I really want to get into it, but like
It's not like a
I
game you
keep
like
procrastinating
get
on
into.
it.
It's
I
a
only hear
roguelike,
good
so it's
things.
just kind of
though.
like you just play a run. I think, and you can get pretty fast. Like I think
Yeah.
my fastest time right now is like 15 minutes.
Yeah,
so.
neato.
Every character is obnoxiously hot.
No,
That
let me
is
introduce
something
you
else
to
I've noticed,
anime.
yeah.
When people get to design characters,
Do
sometimes
tell.
the people will say, "All hot this time." Oops, all hot ones.
And that's okay.
Well,
That
it's
is
also like
all
they
right
are
by
like all
me.
like Greek
Oops,
gods, so like, you
all
know,
sexy.
might as well make them
I'll
hot.
take it. Literally, yeah.
That's fair. Greek gods were like the beauty standard for a very long time. I wonder if Hephaestus is in the game, and I wonder if they actually made him butt ugly
He's
like
not
he's
in the
supposed to be. I bet they didn't. But like, he's not in
Lame.
the game.
A lot of
Boo.
people are making like fan designs like of characters that are not in the game, and I
haven't seen
do
much about the
appreciate
game.
seeing those on my timeline. I like Greek gods.
It seems like it's like pretty popular though. There's like I checked the like Steam reviews and
Greek
there's like
gods are cool.
there's like 40,000 Steam reviews
Yeah.
for it.
A lot
Mhm.
of people actually wanted it, and I think this is ridiculous. Personally, a lot of people wanted it to be
At least-
game of the year.
Doesn't like everything get Game of the Year though?
I do not think so.
Doesn't like everybody
not
get Game
having
of the
played
Year?
it, huh?
Because like
Pretty much. See, that's something that bugs me.
Yeah.
Is so many things get their Game of the Year edition release
I don't
when
think
I
it's up to
really don't
us.
believe they were the Game of the Year.
somebody
Mhm.
probably liked it the most.
No. Oh yeah. Well, and like I think that when Cuphead got Game of the Year, it kind of set this precedent for indie studios being able to get that. But Cuphead to me was such a
That was actually groundbreaking, though.
groundbreaking and unique game. I don't think that you can just put
I
anything up
Don't
against that.
enjoy Cuphead or find it as fun as other games. I think it's fine.
Oh,
I think
I think that's a fair judgment. I'd honestly, as a like game to play, it's okay. I'm not a platformer person, even a little bit.
same.
But as an art form,
It's the
It's
Dark
really,
Souls
yeah,
of
platform.
platformers.
I wouldn't even call it a platform,
actually.
hate that. But
It's just a boss rush.
well, I mean, yeah, they technically
every-
put in the
there's, like,
run and gun
3
as
of
a
them,
like
yeah.
supplement, but they did want it
Unfortunate.
to be a boss rush only. But honestly, between like having originally composed music, like with like their jazz like group there, and the hand drawn animation, and like the thought and time that went into that, I think it is deserving of praise. I don't necessarily think I'll ever finish it
I think
because I
it's fun.
suck at
I
it,
just
but I
not
think it's a really
like head over
pretty
heels for it.
game.
But I also would never say it's bad or hate it.
Yeah.
That's, like that's a little bit of a tired take there. That's
Exactly. I don't think anyone said
Yeah, only people were
would
trying to
say
make you
that
mad.
like Cuphead is
Yeah.
bad and they
only
hate
people
it,
who are
except for
literally
people
like
who found
trying
it
to
super hard.
make you like
Exactly.
angry at them, or make themselves look like they have the spiciest opinion.
Exactly.
Actually, I think Cuphead's poorly designed.
Like, yeah, actually.
I just don't find it that like engrossing.
It's like, what? Why would you
Because like
think
to
that?
me,
Yeah,
I'm,
some of
I'm
them.
more story and I am less.
Yeah,
like,
no, that's fair.
just play.
Oh, me too, for sure. Like I'm really looking forward to the next
Mhm.
God of War game. Like that's the only game that I'm looking forward to right now. I kind of wanted to play Cyberpunk, but I also don't have the money to spend on it, and if I'm ever gonna buy it, I'm gonna wait till
I
it's been
honestly
a
think
little
it's
bit patched.
is it
So
me or is it
Yeah.
like a huge like turn off
Honestly,
to you guys in a game
go ahead.
when they're like, we put a genital meter and you get to pick your genitals. Like, I think that's a huge red. Like, I don't.
No, yeah, I gotta
yeah, I
be
don't want that
honest.
either.
I
Like,
don't. I don't.
if I'm
want
playing
that.
a game where my character like needs genitals for some
Also-
reason, I'm not really interested in the game.
mm-hmm. Also, the fact that everyone was like, "Oh, that means like it's sensitive to trans people," and obviously none of us here are trans. But I am only saying what I've heard from like other trans people, from trans people online is like, first of all, the genders are still locked to an option. It's just the voice and not the genitals. And secondly, being reducing like, oh, trans
Yeah.
acceptance to
Yeah, I
genitals is
agree.
honestly
And,
like super
if you're making
iffy.
your own character,
So-
it's make them whatever you want. Like you know, like I think it's like pretty trans
Mhm.
accepting to have a
Exactly.
character customizer in the first place, you know, or like a gender select option, more or less. I think you know.
Yeah, like exactly, because like being able to like make your character, I know a lot of like my trans friends would play the gender they
Mhm.
transitioned into on video games like as a kid, and that was like a big thing for them. So I think that like there's a lot of discussion to be had about character customization, but I don't think that that's like something that Cyberpunk was like,
I agree.
revolutionizing.
No, I gotta be honest. I don't need to hang dong in a video game to feel comfortable with myself. This is not meant to dig against anyone who does. Like, if that honestly makes you feel good, okay. I don't personally understand that. Like, I don't care about like topless people in video games. That's like one of those like, okay, whatever. But like, I honestly have no
Yeah.
issues with
And I think
painted on
like
underwear in
I
video
also
games.
don't
Oh yeah.
I think that's fine. I think that makes sense.
Yeah, it's weird.
I don't need to have the bigger
I don't
and
want
biggest
to
dick.
make my
on
like,
Cyberpunk.
customers my genitals in a video game where
I
I'm
think the
constantly
only
go,
thing-
like shoot cops or whatever. Like
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh,
Those cops need to
also-
know that you have the biggest
also,
meat.
This
True.
will interest probably both of you. One of the funniest and best critiques that I saw of Cyberpunk is that helping the cops is not optional and always seen as good in this cyberpunk dystopia that you're in.
Why? Why
Because
is
it's cyber, but it sure ain't punk. It just reminds me of I started playing the game Infamous Second Son, which is set in Seattle, and you're playing not only a mutant, which is marginalized in this universe, but you're also playing
and most universes.
in most universes, but you're also playing a native to the area, which for people who aren't familiar, native people and like city cops
I was gonna say
don't
the law?
yeah, they don't really do well together. And I was like, oh, I'll try my first run good karma, and then I'll go back and I'll do like bad karma. Well, I quickly found out that to get good karma, you cannot kill cops and you cannot like be antagonizing to the cops. And I was like, well, okay, never mind. And I started over and tried to do bad karma instead. It's one of those things where it's like cops in video games being a fundamentally good force, I think, is not just like a misunderstanding of the current social like climate, but it's also a misunderstanding of like your character and what a character you're playing would do in the situation they're in. So I think it's funny that Cyberpunk did that, because Cyberpunk usually is like, oh, it's a defunct society where like we're in a tyrant state and the cops are like the military. And it's like, oh, cool. So
I
we're
mean,
gonna
honestly,
help
I
the
had
cops.
no like expectations
What?
or knowledge of anything about Cyberpunk, and I don't really care about it honestly. But like, I haven't heard that many good things, and I've only heard bad things about like not only the game but also like the company. So
Mhm.
it's just like, why are
Oh,
people
yeah.
so horny to play as somebody with a robot arm that they're willing to overlook ethical violations and honestly even bad gameplay?
Well, see, okay, one last thing about Cyberpunk, because like I agree, like they're ethically violating like the crunch time and all of that and the pushbacks and all this stuff. They're setting themselves up for failure by announcing a new release date and then pushing back in a new release date, because half the people will be like, cool, good, we don't want crunches. And the other half of people will be like, what, God, again? Which will inevitably lead to what happened, which was a too early release date
Yeah,
and
and then
still
there's-
too
and the
much
thing is, like, it's not like
crunching.
they're
You have
done,
the
like, they're
worst
still
of both
crunching right now.
worlds with this game.
Because now they're trying to fix everything that's wrong with the game.
Exactly.
Which honestly, I've heard is mostly console stuff. That PC is like mostly okay, but you just have to run it on lower settings because go figure. It's a brand new game optimized for brand new cards, and cards that were put out even like
Yeah.
2 years ago are too old to run this game at top level. Personally, I think that's okay. I think it's okay to play your game at lower freaking graphic settings if your machine can't. This is it just reminds me of the freaking thing I read about the astronauts recently where they had like dick tubes that they had to give the astronauts
What size were they?
be able to pee, right? Well, that's the thing. They had to label them large, humongous, and gigantic because no astronaut wanted to admit that they had a small
I mean,
penis.
in space, no one can see your penis.
And they
That's
were-
what they say, right?
Well, they didn't want to order a small penis sleeve anyway. So it's just like, oh my gosh, where was I going with
Yeah,
this?
let me just get the huge one.
Oh no. I just
I'm just thinking about
derailed
astronaut dick
my
now.
own thoughts so hard on this
What
one.
else is new?
It was something to
All right,
do.
gamers.
Oh my gosh. I wish I could pan back and listen to the audio real
You
quick to
can.
remember what point I was making because there was a reason that tied in.
Tight end.
Oh, graphics cards. Thank you. Graphics cards. Like, people don't want to admit that their computer isn't good enough to run new things, but like, just it's okay to admit that. It's okay to
it took me
not
almost
be
20
good
minutes to
at
load up
certain
Discord today.
games. You know? Yeah. Like, that's not normal. Dave in the server has been posting screenshots from a website that tells you what your computer can run based on its specs. And he just got, your computer can play 0 out of the 30 new releases that people
Well, like,
are asking
I don't
about
know.
the most.
I
And
also
he's like,
don't
rip.
like PC gaming is just
It's
tired
like,
to me.
well, there it is. Makes sense.
I don't know. And having like now that
Mm-hmm.
now having my PS4 again, like I'm remembering that like it's just convenient.
It is.
Also, I didn't know they were doing this, but apparently like I mean, I'm sure you probably saw if you're like browsing through the store at all, but like if you buy a lot of new games on like a PS4, you get a PS5 copy as well, which is like that's honestly that makes sense.
Yes.
That's awesome.
PS4 and the PS5 and Xbox series that have just come out are both doing that.
Okay, good.
You get that with the physical copy as well, which I think that was like the coolest thing is like if you can't buy an Xbox series whatever now or PS5 now, you can still buy the new game, and then when you get the new console later on, you'll have the like nicer graphic version. And I think that's a really smart business move, honestly.
I think so too. Because let's be real. It costs the game distributors $0 to include a disc or a download key for their game that you're already purchasing.
Yeah,
at full
and that you
price.
likely won't purchase
You know?
again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
Well-
know. And rather than try and pull a Skyrim and be like, we've released it on your refrigerator now.
They did.
Your
Holy shit,
Nokia
I'll be
can
right back.
now run Skyrim.
But it's like it's incentive to buy the game now
Mhm.
rather than wait, which is good for their profits.
Because let's be
overall.
real, if I have to wait to like, I almost didn't buy Red Dead on the PC at all. I wanted to play it real bad, but I wasn't gonna buy it, and because like I wasn't able to buy it when the hype was big, you know, like if I had been able to buy it on PC when it dropped on console, I would have. I would have sunk a lot of time into it by then.
Yeah.
And the longer people wait to buy video games, the more likely they are to just find someone online playing them and watch instead of buy it themselves because it's cheaper and it's quicker, and a lot of the time you can get just as much enjoyment out of watching someone competently play through a story and you get to immerse yourself in the story versus playing where you might get frustrated and not do as well.
Yeah, I think it's a cool
You know?
decision because I do kind of want to get a PS5, but like I'm also it's borderline impossible right
yeah.
now.
Yeah, like
My
so-
boss has visited Nina's work
I swear to God, I love that man.
twice
but...
a week, maybe more, looking for a PS5.
If my employer listens to this, I did not tell him anything, but I'm considering it now just so that he stops. I'm considering saying, "Look, just don't come in. I'll have Noah text you if we get any."
Like, I honestly have considered telling him that. It's like, dude, I'll just pass it on if I find out about it. But like, for a man who has said, no, it's okay, I'll just be patient and wait. He also so desperately, he very clearly wants something fun to take his mind off of everything.
That's the big thing. Like, I admire and respect Sony for not putting out physical consoles outside of pre-orders on launch day. I think that was very smart. And the way that we're handling the releases in my store, I think is also very smart. And I respect my the owner of my franchise for doing that, because the way that they're doing it is we only have one out at a time. Usually we don't have more than one, so it works out. But it's just we don't tell anyone when we get shipments. We don't tell anyone if we're gonna get them or not. If someone calls on the phone, it's like, dude, sorry, you have to be in the store. So it's one of those things where like we're having to handle this very carefully, because we heard recently that Walmart decided to tell someone that they'd be getting in PS5s the next day, and then they didn't get PS5s the next day. And they had an angry mob of people that they had to like make a waiting list for, so that
That's
they
insane.
could call
It's
them the next day,
literally
because people were
video
getting
game
violent.
plastic.
So, you know, it is. It's video game plastic.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean you
people
should
are,
punch a Walmart
People are
employee.
desperate for anything good right now. People have been having a rough time. Exactly. Don't be mad at anyone about this, honestly. You can't be mad at the Walmart employees. Don't be mad at Sony, because I think they've handled it probably the best they could handle a console release.
I'm mad at Nina.
So, who are you mad at?
You.
What did I do?
You didn't get him a
give me a
PS5.
PS5.
Yeah.
Dude, if I had been like, oh, Jackson, we got PS5s, and literally by the time you
I also
drove
probably
to the
wouldn't,
store, they
like,
would be gone.
Come into the store. I'm good. Just
See,
vibing.
my favorite thing is
Valid.
she's literally not even allowed to buy one.
I'm not, no. No, we're not allowed to buy from our store. I think we might be if we got district manager approval.
Wait, like in
but
general or just the new consoles?
just new consoles. Anything else, totally fine. We get hefty discounts, which is an incentive for people to work there. And I know at least one employee in the past has maybe
Wait, but also,
used their
like,
discount to scalp a little bit.
Maybe I'm looking at it wrong, but isn't it like I think it's kind of messed up that you can't buy like new consoles. And I get it, it's because they probably don't choose scalping. Maybe they could like limit it like one per employee. But like I don't know, what's the point of like? I feel like you should like if you're paying full price, I think you should be able to buy it. I mean, the store makes just as much money if you buy it, and as long as you don't buy 10 of them.
I feel like it's more along the lines of like insider info, right? Like they don't want to be accused of, oh, your company got all the PS5s and then you let your own employees buy them first. Well, what about me? Type of attitude, which is personally, I think, still a bullshit attitude. It's like, oh, boo hoo, work somewhere that you can take advantage of something like this. Then if you have that much of an
Here's my
issue,
thing.
but also,
I think personally that the owners of this company are in a really tough position because they're pretty small, and when it comes down to it, you don't want people working at your small company just so that they can buy something on the new release and then quit 2 weeks later, which is totally something that could happen
Well, maybe they
if
just like
they
keep it
let
like a little
us
bit
buy
like a low key
things.
type of thing. Like don't tell like if someone asks like, hey, if I work here, can I get a new console? Be like,
Yeah.
well, it depends. You might have to like run it through like the district manager, and then just say it like that, and they'll be like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
and then they'll leave because they don't want to do that.
Yeah, so I get what it is. Also, the fact is they make it very obvious to us that that's not necessarily an option. So if someone who works there, like my boss, for instance, wants a PS5, you still have the option to get it just like anyone else. He pre-ordered his at Best Buy.
I can't believe it.
So,
Wow, what a traitor to your company. I can't believe he went to Best Buy. Support smaller business, not Best Buy. The only places that you could pre-order.
hey, if they paid me as well as Best Buy did,
Incredible.
I would be much more inclined not to betray them.
That's fair.
I kind of like Best Buy. Like I like going like it's nice to be able to go in and buy like a game or movie or something that's like new release, and also like get like I don't know like a computer in the store because I just hate things online.
No, there is something
with you
really
there.
enjoyable about being able to walk through the store and still see things that like, because I'm a visual shopper.
Me too.
I like being able to plan out. I like not
Mhm.
having to like think about what I'm going to get and just going and grabbing things. But sometimes I'm at the store and I walk past like, I don't know, a display of something that I'm like, "Oh yeah, I was going to buy that." Well, I may as well do it now that I've remembered. And you know, I don't have that happen to me when I'm shopping on Amazon. I have it happen to me like 3 hours later after I've bought like the various things that like I thought I was everything I needed. And it's just like, all right, cool, I'm set. And then like an hour later, I'm like, damn it. I added like, I don't know, like a movie to get free shipping, but instead what I could have gotten was extra freaking poster tack, which I needed to buy. And well, here we are, you know, stuff like that.
Um, so kind of unrelated, but I remember going to Best Buy with my dad back when Phantom Menace was being released, and they had this Darth Maul bust with a button you could press, and it would like light up and growl and shit. And that's I would have my dad press the button just specifically because it scared the shit out of me.
Fair enough.
You know what? Actually, that's something else that online stores can never replicate is really weird in-person displays that are sometimes great and sometimes really just bad.
I think it was genius.
Amazon
I
can never
remember
be
it.
a row of Bluetooth speakers that you press a button and they all start playing the same shitty beat that is way too loud and you really don't care anymore.
And you
it
can't
goes on for like 45
accurately-
minutes.
You can't accurately actually like pay attention to the sound quality based on them at all, even.
Hmm. That's my favorite.
I'm glad that's your favorite because I don't like that very much.
See, it's important to note that like I still remember this stupid Phantom Menace display 21 or so years later or something. I was like 2 when that thing was there. This was in Texas,
Texas.
and I still remember
Texas.
this thing. Texas.
Tegziz. Texas.
Texas. So
Texas.
Jackson, did you see the boiled
I did,
peanuts
yeah.
discussion at all?
I weighed in
You
on
weighed
Yeah.
in on it.
Yeah, I remember. I thought that you were one of the people who had weighed in on it, but I couldn't remember if it was you or someone else. So, 2 points of contention from the boiled peanuts discussion. First of all, Texas is not part of the South. I already knew that. People in my comments telling me that, I already knew that. It's the fact that Noah's parents were like, "You're from Texas. How have
I
you never
never
heard
went
of
from
boiled peanuts?" And I was like,
Texas.
"Well,
Okay, so in fairness, Texas is the south part of the states. For people all the way up here that don't know the finer details of what separates the South from the South of the United States, yeah,
Texas
okay.
is almost like Southwest. You know?
Mhm.
Whereas
Yes.
like Georgia, that's just South.
Yeah.
And
As it
Georgia
should
is
be.
apparently the main curator of boiled peanuts.
Yeah. And South
Really?
Carolina, because I saw so many signs for boiled peanuts when I was there. And I'm just, yeah, I'm freaking on my way to the freaking job. And this guy's just like, yeah, I'm from corporate down in Georgia. You know, I know the area here if you want me to show you around a little bit. And I'm like, I mean, I don't know. I'm mostly just trying to work, but I mean, I appreciate it. And this dude freaking, we pass a boiled peanut sign. He's like, y'all got those where you're from? And I'm like, no. Boiled peanuts? No. Do you boil them in the shell? And he's like, yeah, they're pretty good. And that was all I knew about boiled peanuts then.
Do they get mushy?
I don't know. I didn't
I don't
ask.
know.
I didn't
I'm
try
kind of
them.
wondering, you know, like what their consistency is like.
All I know is that someone else independently told me, oh yeah, boiled peanuts, they kind of taste like a sweaty ball sack, but like in a good way.
At least it's in a good way.
In a good way.
Yeah, I didn't really get it much myself. I didn't quite understand, but like that was the vibe he was trying to convey to me.
Interesting.
I don't know.
That is one way to put it.
I got to be honest, it didn't make me want to try boiled peanuts.
Nothing could make me want to try boiled peanuts. Anything anyone has ever said about them just makes me want to try them less.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
I have no.
Right up there with
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
good. I'll hard pass
ahead.
the boiled peanuts.
it's right up there with peanuts in Coke. That makes no sense. I don't get it.
That's what I don't know of. Peanuts in Coke.
Yeah, you take your peanuts and you dump them into a Coke, and you drink your Coke and then you eat the peanuts. They get super, super salty because, you know, Coke actually has a lot of sodium in it and it just kicks it off on the peanuts. It reminds me of the southern version of Pissy Shitties.
No.
Excuse me?
No, the Southerners are doing pissy shitties.
What's a pissy shitty?
It's where you take popcorn and you pour your.
It's not
Coke
a
on it.
real thing. So Pissy Shitties started because someone was like, it was one of those like classic like Tumblr posts where someone's like, stuff in the UK sucks. And they're like, oh yeah, bruv, you think you could be mean to the UK? We're actually like, we only killed like lots of millions of people in India. We're fine. We're lovely chaps. We say chaps.
At least we don't get shot up in maths. We don't.
And you're like, that's fucked up, dude. And they're like, fuck you, bruv. I'm like, I just said I don't really want to eat mashed peas, and now you're like making jokes about like mass homicide. Like, what's wrong with you?
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, he's alright, bruv. And people are like, oh my god, their accents are so hot. Moral of the story, I just hate British people. Okay, I don't hate British people. I hate the entirety of England. And Scotland's cool. Wales on thin ice. Ireland's obviously cool as hell. Northern Ireland,
Ireland's cool as hell.
you know, we'll get there. We'll get them back together, don't worry.
Exactly.
Anyway, I just fucking hate the English.
Shitty pissy.
Pissy Shitties.
Pissy
Someone
Pissy shitty.
Someone
thank
was
you.
like, well, in America, you guys probably don't, or you guys don't do this in England, but like in America, when we go to movie theaters, we make pissy shitties. And then everyone's like, oh, bruv, what's pissy shitties? And he's like, well, it's, we take our Pepsi and a large cup, and then we put a handfuls of popcorn into it. And then we let it get all like sogged up, and then we eat it with our hands.
Okay, so
But here's the problem, right?
Mhm.
Like, it's clearly not real. It's clearly a joke, but I also know people that do it.
Incredible.
But, okay, here's the thing. When I was a kid and I read Little House on the Prairie, there's a whole part where, like, they put a lot of emphasis on the foods that they used to eat as kids. And one that Laura talks about in one of the books is that they would take popcorn and milk. And she's like, it's fascinating because no matter how much like milk you put in or popcorn you put in, they will occupy the same space because the popcorn soaks up the milk. And I, as a kid, was like, that's really weird. That sounds disgusting. And now hearing about pissy shitties, it's the same fucking thing, but it's just Pepsi.
Well, here's the thing. Unbuttered popcorn, I think you could do that with milk. I don't think I would hate that.
It's just cereal, yeah.
I don't think
Popcorn cereal.
I don't think it would be exceptionally fantastic, but I don't think it would. I don't think it doesn't sound foul.
Half of cereal is just puffed corn anyway.
That's a
That's
good
true.
point. You got me there.
It's sweetened, and
You
there's
want it
obviously
puffed
other
or
things in
popped?
there, but like, you know, popcorn and milk. I've heard worse things people have done before. I've done worse
Yeah.
things.
Yeah, definitely milk is way less offensive than Pepsi.
Anything, and
Yes.
like putting handfuls of buttery, salty movie theater popcorn in a Pepsi,
Ugh.
and then eating it
It's
with
just
your
the oil
hands.
slick on the top.
Noah's physical
Ugh.
reaction to that is spectacular.
It's making me unhappy to think about.
Disgusting. Well, okay, so remember when Jeff told me that you should put butter in your coffee? That like to me,
Bulletproof
like that
coffee.
feels like similar.
That's like
But
a
it's
that's like a
actually really
millennial
good.
thing for sure.
Mhm.
They're like, we got to keep the
I don't
fats
think that's
high and the
similar,
carbs low, and you're like, stop.
Keto.
Just drink regular
keto
coffee.
diet.
Why are you
But
putting
that's the
butter
thing,
in it? It
like-
doesn't add anything to the coffee. It just makes
Because-
it worse coffee.
It does the same thing that milk does in that it like reacts with the coffee to make it less bitter.
Just drink the
Functionally,
coffee.
it does the same thing.
Personally, I kind of like butter because it's smoother than milk and doesn't dilute the coffee flavor in the same way. But also, I'm never going to sit here and be like, actually, yeah, if you put butter in your coffee, it helps you, it helps you burn fat better.
When I worked at the cafe, we had people. That's the thing. It's the same thing at the fucking cafe as it is at the GameStop. People always work Game Shop. Sorry, the people always are like act like I don't know what I'm doing, even though I'm the one that works there. So this guy's like, yeah, I want a whatever it's called, and I want butter in the coffee, and he like acts like we're supposed to think that it's super weird, and we're all like, oh yeah, okay, and we grab a tablespoon of butter, and we're like, is this a good amount? And we slap it in the coffee, and he's like annoyed, like actually visibly annoyed with us that we didn't comment on the fact that he wanted butter in his coffee.
People live for that stuff, though. People love having their weird hobbies that they're like, I'm so unique. I drink pissy shitties.
Okay, that's
And it's
cool,
just
though.
like, yeah, okay. And you don't get paid enough to ask him questions. You don't get paid enough to care why he wants that so bad. Just take it and throw it in.
Literally.
You know?
As long as you don't like get mad at me for putting someone asked for like bread and butter, and then when we put butter on it, she's like, "Oh, is the butter vegan?" And we're like, "Of course not. The bread's the only vegan thing we have in the freaking store." And she got mad at us. I hated that.
Imagine wanting vegan food and not saying that when you order.
Exactly. It's like, we wouldn't have put butter on it if we'd known you were vegan, but our bread is like automatically, she never mentioned she was vegan. Our bread's automatically served with butter. Like, we're not going to serve it without butter without knowing why we would have to do that.
Also, personal question here, not personal question, general question. Could the argument be made that bread is not vegan because of the cultures that you make, like sourdough bread?
I know that some people might argue that, yeah. It's like the people who
I
have
feel like it's
who
just the
won't
people that want
do-
to start a fight,
the
right?
people who won't do. No, there are people who are that crazy vegan. Like, there are people who will have
Yeah,
head
the
lice.
people that want to start a fight.
People who have head lice who won't get lice treatments because it would be animal cruelty.
It's not me. I don't like that. That's a little much for me. I don't know.
Well, you also were a barber, so.
Wait,
No,
you were?
lice are just disgusting. Yeah, I don't know if I ever talked about it. But no, lice are just dead disgusting.
They are. They're nasty.
I've never even ate one, so I don't know what you guys are talking about.
How dare you? I've lucked out by not having had contact with lice yet in my life, but I have I've seen videos, and there were lice in school while I was there. It was like the day or two before I moved out onto the senior floor and got to work on real people.
That does sound like a place you
This
don't want to
mom
have
came
lice
in.
at.
Yeah. And this mom came in with her 2 kids, and all 3 of them had lice, and they had to be told to leave, and we had to hyper sanitize everything because we weren't really sure where everyone had been. Honestly, it's one of those things, right, where it's just like, I think back pre-pandemic, and things like this raise much bigger red flags than they did then. And it just makes me think, wow, I really just like thought, oh yeah, sometimes someone's going to have a communicable parasite and they're just going to be near me and they'll think that's fine.
Wait, do they?
Have you guys?
Do they know though? Like, how do you know if you have lice?
Because it itches hella bad.
Also, with how bad these people were, you could see them.
And you can see them. Yeah, they're notice. I've had lice before. Because it was like a camping thing or something. I don't remember where
Mhm.
like my whole family got it.
Ew.
And they're like little beads on your hair, like the eggs are. If you run your fingers through your hair, you can feel bumps on your hair. So you'll know if you have lice.
You can't just like wash them out.
No, they don't wash out. They can survive that. You have to suffocate them. You can do like oil treatments that will
What if
suffocate
you just like
them.
stick your head underwater, like all your hair for like snorkel for like a really long time?
Water won't suffocate them. The way they breathe through their like they absorb air through their skin. So
Incredible.
Even water is too oxygen rich to do it. You have to use an oil.
A lot of people do mayo.
I would never.
Fun thing about ticks, also, or not ticks, lice, the eggs are white and they do not die. So let's say that you just made somebody's hair, I don't know, we'll say purple, and then you see that their scalp is covered in tiny white spots. That's what happened for us.
Yikes.
Yep. Yeah.
Disgusting. Speaking of communicable things, have you guys had that thing? Because I feel like maybe Noah, you have, but have you like watched TV that's set in a time where there wasn't coronavirus and like there's a lot of people in a small space and you think to yourselves, hey, that's not social distancing?
Yeah, for sure.
We were watching Letterkenny last night and they had set up a sled hut and they're all 3 of them just sitting close quarters there. And Nina's like, that's not social. Oh, wait.
They're talking about getting together for a social with like 10 other people, and I'm like, that's too many people.
I do have that happen sometimes. Like I'll see like a video like people like walking through the airport and no one has masks on. I'm like, wait.
It's like, what's wrong with you people? Oh.
Yeah, it's to the point where I like feel physically unsafe if I'm standing next to someone in a Publix area that doesn't have a mask on. Like, reasons for not wearing a mask notwithstanding, because like if someone in my store is like, hey, I have a medical condition, we can't ask them to wear a mask. It's whatever.
You can ask them to eat my shorts.
What was that?
You guys said you can ask them to eat my shorts.
Yeah,
Not
I
yours,
wish we
mine.
could tell them to just
Like you can put
do
it.
curbside. Like that would be my personal preference. Would be like, okay, well, if you're too sick to wear a mask or you're too like you can't wear a mask, then really you shouldn't be in here. Just stand outside and we'll freaking grab your movies for you. But they always want to look around. They always want to meander. I don't get it. Anyway, I feel unsafe standing next to them. I'm like, what are you doing? Why is your face exposed?
Yeah, I don't know. It's just like it's just inconsiderate. But also,
Mhm.
like, I was watching 90 Day Fiance the other way because why wouldn't I?
Yeah, why
Of
not?
course.
And there was just like the one woman was from South Korea, and it was like the mom of the one guy, and she was wearing a mask around the baby, and the one girl was like, "Why is she wearing a mask?" And she's like, "Oh, well, she like has a cold, so she's wearing a mask to like try and like make sure the baby doesn't get sick." And she was like, "Well, it's weirding me out."
Mhm.
Ugh.
Imagine like 2 years ago being like, "It's weird when people wear masks when they're sick."
Well, people always thought that about like, because in Asian cultures, like specifically, it is normal to wear a mask when you have a cold, you know? Like, that's a perfectly normal thing that they've done for a long time. And like, people in America, whenever like we had a large Korean population in Seattle. So, whenever there's someone on like the bus wearing a mask or whatever, people always would act like weirded out by it. And it's like, why? And now it's like, now that's a freaking thing that you should be doing. I don't understand why people would rather throw a fit than wear a mask for like 30 minutes in the store. I have to wear a mask like 8 hours every day. It's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, it really isn't. People were just little babies.
Mhm.
Really?
I just can't imagine, even before the whole discourse of it's my God-given right to not wear a mask. Just, oh yeah, she's sick and doesn't want to get the baby sick. Well, can she not wear the mask? It's weirding me out. That's so weird. I don't understand it. I don't know. I don't think it's that hard to wear a mask. I honestly kind of dig wearing a mask when I head out. Just like, it's nice to have it makes things feel a little more private again. I don't know.
I agree with you. I like the fashion statement of like having my different masks that like go with different outfits. And I also like the privacy. But I have gotten to the point where if I want someone to read my exasperated expression, I'll make big eye movements because some customers just need to know that they're pissing me off. So
Does it work?
they get snippy with me afterwards, yeah, because they'll be like, actually, I don't want to buy these 8 things that I grabbed while I was out on the floor. So can you just put them back and I'll do like this little number?
Mhm.
One of those.
And then they'll get snippy with me. So
God forbid you don't appreciate them adding to your daily workload.
this one woman called in and had like 3 separate times and had Garrett and I like walk around the store and grab a bunch of movies for her. And then when she came in, she only bought half of those movies. I was
She's like, never mind. I
infuriated.
don't need the Matrix Reloaded. Actually,
Why would you not want the Matrix Reloaded? It's the best Matrix movie.
incredible take.
What is that, the second one or the third
The
one?
second one.
Okay. Honestly, I did like the second one.
Nice.
I
The
thought it had
Second
some
one,
good.
the one with the white dreadlocks twins.
Yeah, it had
I
some
did
good
like that.
bones to it. It was not good, but it had some good bones.
No, make no bones about it.
Something I've been thinking of more.
What was that cute little noise?
It was me deciding whether or not I was going to say this or not. But something I've been thinking of more and more is the Matrix itself actually isn't that great in hindsight.
You're valid.
It's very fun. It is a very fun movie. But also it's not like it's that great.
Everyone like tries to pretend, and this is how I feel about a lot of media that people specifically Watchmen. I think is
Oh,
a good
no.
comparison here.
Watchmen is actually one of the best things ever made. Check yourself.
It's one
You
of
just
those
don't
things
understand
where,
it.
like, it says something really basic, but because it was one of the first ones to say it as loudly, everyone thinks it's revolutionary.
Mhm.
Like Watchmen was revolutionary at the time, but there are now things that have taken that concept and built on it and say the same thing in a more like nuanced and
I
better
was
way.
gonna say
Honestly,
in a less uncomfortable way.
I'll say it like any day of the week. I don't think most any media property that's come out like in the last like 100 years even has had like a really revolutionary take. Like, I mean, describing the principles of utilitarianism through people in masks, I don't think is like wildly game changing. But I think people who are too up their own ass to read anything without somebody with a mask on are gonna be like, wow, he's literally me, and also this has got to be a new philosophy. Instead of being like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
some weird English dude did that in like the 1300s.
Yeah. And it's also one of those things where like, oh god, I lost my train of thought. The whole like there's no original thought thing, which is like
Except me.
I feel like
I'm a thought, and I'm
feel
original
like-
self.
yeah, the original thought. But yeah, it's one of those things where it's like if a story is interesting, even if it says something that's kind of been said before, people will consume it and enjoy it. So I feel like a lot of artists and creators these days are very stressed about saying something new and original.
Mhm.
And it's like the things that people have lauded as being new and original, like The Matrix or what else? Lord of the Rings. It's like Lord of the Rings takes so much from Norse mythology. It's like not even funny. Like even everyone is like, "Oh, Tolkien was like the founder of modern fantasy." Yes, he was, but he was just the founder of restructuring already existing lore. So, like people need to stop being afraid, I think.
I agree because like that's the thing. Like I like Watchmen. I think Watchmen is fun and cool. But I think the
Mhm.
problem is when you get to people who watch it and they're like, "This is epic," and they're like,
Exactly.
It's the same as like people who like
Rorschach?
Fight Club is a really good movie, and I really like Fight Club. But when Fight Club is
Mhm.
someone's favorite movie and motivation for doing things,
Oh, it's a big red
that's
flag.
a huge red flag. But again, I really like. I think Fight Club's
Exactly.
awesome.
And it's like oh, Fight Club brought up another movie for me that I was thinking about. Oh, people who say that Die Hard is their favorite Christmas movie.
Oh yeah, like I actually have
It's
never heard that.
like
Very funny, very funny. Every time I hear it.
Oh yeah.
I'll bite like if someone says it. I'll be like, "Yeah, okay. Sure. Why not?" And I saw a TikTok that was like going over this as well where it was like, "Dude, it's not it's not a personality trait to think Die Hard is your favorite Christmas movie. I will accept you saying it, but if you expect me to think that that makes like automatically makes you a cool and funny person, that like you kin freaking Rorschach from Watchmen or what's it, Tyler Durden
Yeah.
Agreed.
from Fight Club
Like
or fucking Rick Sanchez, like I immediately don't like you
flag.
as a person. Like you can like Fight Club and you can even relate to those characters without it being too much of a red flag for me.
I think everyone's supposed to be able to relate to those characters.
It's
I
supposed
think
to call you
it's
out.
you're supposed to be able to see, oh, yeah, I get this. You're not supposed to think, and that is a normal and good conclusion to this story.
and he's my hero.
You know that man who spent the entire movie beating himself up in such a state of denial that he thought he was a separate person because he couldn't do things himself? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fine.
It's one of those things where like you're meant to relate to them in a way that it's supposed to point out like it's supposed to make you introspect and think to yourself, oh, specifically with Rorschach, you're supposed to kind of see him and be like, oh, like this kind of thing is unhealthy and we should maybe like if we're idolizing something like Batman, we should maybe introspect and think to ourselves, why are we idolizing it? Is it because of the way that he acts or is it because of something else?
And then there's also like the classic. I mean, all of these fall into like that male manipulator movie category that I know has been
Mhm.
popping off lately. And yeah, I definitely.
Isn't it
like,
weird that you can't? Is it like this is not to make a general like sweeping sexist statement, which it might sound like at first. I off the top of my head cannot think of a female character that does the same thing. If you guys have one, I would love to hear it, but I can't think of a female character that if a woman tells me, "Oh, I really related to X character."
Katniss.
Uh,
I don't know much about Katniss, but
Yeah.
I buy it. I don't like her. I don't like the cut of her jib.
See, Katniss concerns me not in the sense, not nearly the same way of, yeah, man, Tyler Durden is like my spirit animal type of
No, I
thing
th- I
that
think you're
terrifies
right,
me.
though.
Although I do
But
have an example.
Katniss gives me that thought of someone who
they think they're the
They're-
main character.
no, they think they're the main character, but more importantly, they are very performative in what they believe.
Ooh,
but that's
yeah.
about it.
And they probably also glorify mental illness.
Oh, that's a biggie, but that's just like
That's anyone who does anything with any character, honestly.
Honestly, that's fair.
I watched the Queen's Gambit, and I think that I was actually talking to my friend about it, and I was like, man, I like Beth Harmon. It's nice to have like a washed up child prodigy for women to be able to relate to. I was like, ooh, this time the child prodigy who feels like they're washed up and turns to substance abuse, but in the end still has it. This time they're girl.
That's
I'm
a
like,
good
hey,
point.
we get to mix it up a little bit. And like, I
Oh.
love her, and I love Queen's
wasn't
Gambit. I
that
think it's
Woody
great.
Harrelson's role in freaking Hunger Games?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yes.
Okay,
Okay,
I
cool.
would also say maybe Daenerys from Game of Thrones.
Oh yeah, that's a huge red flag. That's a massive red flag.
Is if someone relates to her, I'm just kind of like, oh, you have maybe a massive victim complex.
She
for
is
one.
literally meat.
I gotta be honest. I knew that everyone loved her in the show, and then because I read the books after the show had been out for a hot minute, I never really saw the show. But when I read the books, she's introduced, and I'm like, oh, I gotta be honest. Not only do I not really feel too bad for her, she's not good people.
Like, I get that the whole
And-
point of Game of Thrones is to have a bunch of morally gray characters, but I feel like the general this is exactly like the whole Tyler Durden thing. I think the general fan reception to Daenerys is that she's a victim and she regains power through, like, being the mother of dragons or whatever. But the energy that I get from people who are fans of her is a middle-aged woman who divorced her husband and thinks that she was entirely the victim in a mutual divorce. That's the energy that I get.
I can agree with that to a point.
That's also a massive generalization. And I also think that as a character, when I first heard about her, I was really interested in where it was going. So I do think, like, it's just the same as, like, with Rick or with any of the other characters
Who the
mentioned.
fuck is Rick?
Pickle Rick.
Pickle Rick.
You know.
Oh yeah,
He turned himself into a pickle
yes,
Jackson.
yes, I know now.
Sorry,
I literally had no idea what you're
no
talking
worries.
about.
He's Pickle Rick.
I do genuinely like those characters. I did genuinely like Rick and Morty, and I think if I watched Game of Thrones, Daenerys might be one of my favorite characters. But I don't think that you should glorify any of those characters and make them out to be like, oh, that's totally me.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I just also don't like media.
Valid.
I like it, and I don't want to be like a haha, I hate everything. But like I don't like when people attach a large portion of their identity to things that are completely outside of their control and creation.
We've come full circle.
Now we
We
have.
really have.
And maybe that's the Tyler Durden in me, but like I don't know, I would rather like things that I have a hand in and can do and can, perpetuate and progress.
Make your
and,
own-
share.
Yeah, make your own kind of personality.
Why would I want to
like,
copy
and take
myself
control of
from
that.
some character someone else made? I'm me.
And that's why video games are better than movies.
Yeah, because I can't make Naruto have a bigger dick, but in Cyberpunk 2077, I can make my character look exactly like Naruto and give him a hog. All right, that's a wrap.
All right.
Noah, where can they find you?
Bubba the Bad, BUBBADABAD. I'm on Twitch, Twitter, and Insta, streaming on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Dan is unavailable to stream this week, so you've probably already seen me play just Red Dead Redemption. That's what I'm streaming this week. We're gonna cowboy, and it's gonna be a good time.
You may have also noticed that Dan wasn't available for this recording, and we did not previously state this, but I'm not Dan. I'm Nina.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, we didn't say that.
Whatever.
Yeah, Dan's busy.
We just kind of hung out without the fact that I was even here, and I appreciates that. Yeah, I'm Nina Wolverina. I do art and stuff. That's all I have to say.
And then there's Jackson.
Hello.
You can follow Off the Air at Facebook at OTA Podcast. I post there probably once a month an episode link because I'm bad at remembering. Twitter at the Off the Air. Sometimes I post there more often, but not by much. Getting pretty bad at remembering that one. Need to get back on that. Patreon at Off the Air. We want to give a huge to our patrons. We did shout out Hi Had last week about Nina dying without the warmth of Beefy Michael.
What?
Yeah, you died because you didn't have Beefy Michael to keep you warm. Keep up, Nina, please.
What are we? What the heck?
You know
Beefy Michael.
Okay.
But yeah, we don't actually have any. No one else gave me any shout outs. I messaged them. Sorry, y'all. Instead, what I'm doing is I'm going to log in to Patreon right now and we're just going to shout everyone out right now. But yeah, Apple Podcasts, review us on that because that helps us more than you could possibly know. Help us climb up Apple's analytics ladder. Give us a 5-star review and say something nice about us. Even if you say something mean about us, still give us that 5-star review and we'll pop in. We'll read it out loud as long as it's not inappropriate. And it'll be a grand old time. Google's not treating me well. It's taking a long time to load up my websites. So that's less than cool. Also, my waveform stopped forming on the freaking audio, so
This
that
is hilarious.
very scary.
I surely hope that it did not stop recording.
Me too. All right, no new reviews. Logging into Patreon. Patron. Let's see. Nope. Okay. I'm getting there. Big shout outs to Edge, Bo, and Michael. Thank you very much for helping support. We're coming up with ideas of what we're gonna finally do with some of this money outside of web hosting. So we'll keep you updated on that. Also, shout outs to Emma, Evan, and Cloud. Y'all get to say something. So if you get back to me before the month's out, you can. You can message me in Discord. I have my DMs open to people in the same Discord. Don't make me regret that. That's about all I've got. Thanks for the support. Thanks for listening. Merry almost Christmas. This is coming out like a week before Christmas, something like that. Jeez, man, it do be coming. Oh man,
Coming up fast.
Just around the corner.
That's it.